So what are we doing, Bev?
We're going off on what we hope is a cruise tomorrow. So I'm going to make some dinner tonight, and the dinner hopefully will have enough leftovers to make passage food for tomorrow. What we're going to be making today is one of the simplest things you can possibly do. It takes very little effort. It just takes a lot of time. And that is, we've got a small beef joint. This one weighs 0.74 kilos. No idea what that is in old money. And it's a beef brisket, and we're basically going to do a boiled beef joint. We're going to do a pot roast, and basically all we have to do in the pot roast is put the brisket in with some onions, garlic, a few mixed herbs, a bit of tomato, cover it with water and leave it for about 3 hours, maybe 4 if we can get away with it. So time is everything on this. So as is usual for this, we will be using our thermal cooker. And if you don't have a thermal cooker, just put it in a pot, put it on the stove, put it down to the lowest setting and just let it simmer away, and remember to keep topping it up. And after 3 or 4 hours it'll be done. But there's no effort involved in getting it done, so we literally just take all this, bung it in there and go off and do other things for a bit. So my ingredients for this are quite straightforward. I have a medium-ish onion, I have a clove of garlic, a stock cube, this is gluten free of course. I have some fresh tomatoes, work with me on this, I'm on a boat. Some fresh carrots, some fresh herbs, mixed herbs, and some fresh ginger. Now obviously if you've got fresh ingredients, use them. I'm working with what comes out of the boat's bilges, so it's things like this. But the ingredients stay the same. It's onions, it's carrots, it's garlic, it's stock cubes. So this is going to be finely chopped and put in there. The beef will be put on top of it and the garlic, and then when it's fully heated up we'll fill it with boiling water, just cover the beef, and then once it's filled up we put it away and we leave it alone for 3 or 4 hours. First job, in goes the onions and the garlic. Now I've said this before, so you may have seen me say this in other videos, but I'm going to say it again in case you haven't seen the previous videos. There is a persistent legend in cooking that you've got to take this, you've got to brown it on all sides, crisp the fat up, put it aside in a heated dish, cover it up, do the onions, get them nicely browned, take them back out, put this back into the dish, put the onions over the top. It's a lot of work and it doesn't really achieve an awful lot. If anything, it tends to dry the meat out a little bit. Now, if you're after the presentation stuff and you want this to look a certain way when it comes out, go ahead and do that. Frankly, I don't much care. It doesn't last very long between coming out of there and disappearing off my plate. Also, when you put tomato in with it, you'll find this changes colour anyway, whether you pre-cook it or not. So I am quite literally just going to take this straight from the packet and put it straight in there. The reason being, it's less work for me, less fat for me, less tidying up for me. It doesn't dry the meat out, and it makes very, very little difference to the end of the presentation. Now, you may think, what am I grinding pepper into? I must have gone mad. This pepper mill actually has a lid, and you can see pepper. And it just gives me an idea. It's about half a teaspoon of pepper. It just makes it easy for me when I'm adding it in. I can see how much I'm adding. The onions are just cooked through, which takes the bitterness out of the onion, which is always good.
Do it.
So I'm now going to add in the stock cube, and in case you're wondering why I chop the stock cube up, if I don't, I wind up with a big lump in the middle and I have to split it with the spatula. It's easier if I chop it up and just put the bits in. Just makes my life easy. Ginger, fresh ginger, about a teaspoon.
Teaspoon of ginger.
My pepper, about half a teaspoon.
Okay.
And about a teaspoon of salt, done the same way. Now when you do all that lot, it will get a bit dry in there, so just put a wee bit of water in. I've added about a dessert spoon of water. Now you notice the meat's dark, starting to go purpley, good colour for beef. And don't be tempted to remove the strings. Leave the strings alone, they'll cook just fine. There. I'll now add some mixed herbs. I guess there's about a dessert spoon there. Or two dessert spoons. And then we just give that a good stir in. Right, this is bubbling merrily in here. I don't know if you can see the steam coming out, but it is bubbling around. But this is now ready, and we're going to put it inside the thermal jacket and leave it and get on with our life for the rest of the afternoon. So
which in our case will be some shopping, won't it, Bev?
it will be shopping to put things in the boat's bilges, because we're getting ready to go off and plan our passages and things like that. So we need to top up things like, you know, fresh carrots. Well, it's been a couple of hours and things are progressing. So I'm just having a little taste test, as you do. And it's coming along fine. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to turn the joint. So I'm going to turn it over, and I'm just going to give it a little bit more reheat just to keep it cooking along. So the vegetables I will prepare and put in the other pot, and we will put it in our Wonder Bag, which is what we use when Mr. D is too full to get much more in. A Wonder Bag is like a cloth version of Mr. D, and we will be using it for this. Well, it's all kicking off here. We've got a pot full of potatoes. No great mystery of it, it's just potatoes that have been peeled and cut in half, and I'm going to put boiling water in there in a few seconds. And I'm also just going to chuck the carrots in on top. Right, well, as you can see, they're boiling. So all we do now is we simply just transfer it straight into Wanda. It's as easy as that. Like I say, if you're at home, just cook your potatoes and your carrots the way you like them. There's no right or wrong about this. Right. So I'm just going to set that in there. I'll put the lid on top. Now just pull the strings tight. And we just leave it like that to let it cook in its own heat. And so we're going to go off, we're going to do our Zoom call with our collaboration with another internet channel, and then when we come back we will be finishing this off and we will be having some dinner. Yippee-doo-dah.
Yeah, we love the word dinner.
We do. We're particularly fond of it, which is why we have weight issues. Well, we've done the collaboration podcast thing, whatever you want to call it, and dinner has been cooking while we've been doing it. So I'm going to turn this around so you can have a look. Let's have a look inside Mr. D and see what we've got. There it goes.
Oh,
here's my pot roast.
Yummy, yummy.
I'm going to put this on a plate and just let it drip dry for a bit. It'll just make it a little easier to carve. And then I'm going to thicken this gravy slightly. I've been told there's a bit of fat on top that needs to go, so kitchen paper. What I'm going to do is just put the kitchen paper, because I don't think there's that much fat. I'm just going to put the kitchen paper on top. Because the fat floats to the top, off it lifts, just like that. And that has lifted most of the fat off the top. Right, so I'm just going to slice the beef. But this should now just slice quite nicely. Oh yeah, look at this.
Oh yeah. Delicious pot roast. Well, the pot roast we did yesterday has made us soup under passage, as well as soup now here, and we've also got a beef sandwich. And I don't know why, but when you're sailing, that seems to be enough, really.